From Pacifica, this is Democracy Now!
Yes, I had a black hood on my head, and my hands were tied upward, and I remained in this state for long hours. I had medical issues in my stomach. Some excretion was going out of my mouth involuntarily and falling to the ground. But all of this was of no consequences to the guards in the prison. On the contrary, they were laughing.
10 years after the first publication of photos from inside Abu Ghraib, we speak with Al Jazeera journalist Salah Hassan, who is held by U.S. forces inside the Iraqi prison. To date, no high-ranking U.S. official has been held accountable for the torture at Abu Ghraib, but Hassan and other former prisoners are attempting to sue one of the private companies, Khaki International, or CACI, which helped run the prison. Then, Condoleezza Rice is back in the news.
There will always be some uncertainty about how quickly he can acquire a nuclear weapon, but we don't want the smoking gun to be a mushroom cloud.
This was President Bush's former national security advisor, Condoleezza Rice, in 2002. This weekend, Rice backed out of delivering the commencement address at Rutgers University in New Jersey following protests over her role in supporting the Iraq War and U.S. torture practices. We'll speak with student protest leader Carmelo Cintrone. All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The Obama administration has launched a review of execution procedures following last week's botched killing of a death row prisoner in Oklahoma. Clayton Lockett died of a heart attack 43 minutes after he was injected with untested chemicals in his groin. Prison officials had called off the execution after Lockett remained conscious and convulsed on the gurney. In his first public comments on Lockett's death, President Obama called the botched execution deeply disturbing and said it raises difficult and profound questions.
In the application of the death penalty in this country, we have seen significant problems. Racial bias, an uneven application of the death penalty. Situations in which there were individuals on death row who later on were discovered to have been innocent because of exculpatory evidence. And all these, I think, do raise significant questions about how the death penalty is being applied. So I'll be discussing with Eric Holder and others, to get me an analysis of what steps have been taken, not just in this particular instance, but more broadly in this area. I think we do have to, as a society, ask ourselves some difficult and profound questions.
The Justice Department review will focus strictly on the federal protocol for how executions are carried out, not the issues of race and wrongful convictions that President Obama mentioned. On Friday, a spokesperson for Navi Pillay, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, said Lockett's death may have violated international law barring cruel and inhuman, degrading treatment. The UN has called on the U.S. to impose a nationwide moratorium on the death penalty and work, quote, for abolition of this cruel and inhuman practice. Ukraine has seen its deadliest violence in months after the conflict between nationalist and pro-Russian militias spread to the southern port city of Odessa. At least 46 people died Friday when a massive blaze erupted at a base where the two sides were fighting. On Sunday, pro-Russian separatists attacked an Odessa police station, freeing dozens of prisoners. The Ukraine government has vowed to intensify its campaign against the separatists, with large parts of Ukraine now appearing on the brink of war. In a move that could help diffuse tensions among foreign powers, 7 observers with the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe were freed on Saturday after over a week in captivity by pro-Russian forces. A German newspaper, meanwhile, is reporting dozens of U.S. intelligence specialists are advising the Ukrainian government. Citing unnamed German sources, Bild am Sonntag says CIA and FBI officials are in Kiev advising on how to end the rebellion in the east and fight organized crime. Thousands of people are feared dead after a massive landslide in Afghanistan. A mountain in a northeastern province collapsed Friday, burying the village underneath. At least 500 people have been confirmed dead. Over 2,000 are missing. It was one of Afghanistan's worst natural disasters in years. Iraq has capped its bloodiest month so far this year. The United Nations says at least 750 Iraqis were killed in April, more than 600 of them civilians. Iraq held nationwide parliamentary elections last week amidst relative calm. At least 30 people were killed in violence over a 24-hour period this weekend. Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan says he's asked for international help toward finding the 276 schoolgirls kidnapped last month. The militant Islamist group Boko Haram is suspected of abducting the girls during a night raid on their northeastern hostel. Jonathan and President Obama have spoken by phone to discuss the crisis, and Nigeria has made appeals to other world powers. Over the weekend, Nigerian President Jonathan held his first meeting with the major groups involved, including outraged parents following criticism of a lackluster government response. In a televised interview with a panel of journalists, Jonathan pledged to win the girls' release.
We promise that wherever these girls are, we'll surely get them out. One good thing that I'm a bit happy, and I believe most Nigerians are happy, is that there's no story that any of them has been hurt in terms of injured or dead. I really sympathize and express my empathy to the parents and the relatives and, of course, the guardians of these girls. We are all fathers or mothers.
Rallies were also held around the world this weekend to call for the girls' release. A group of Nigerian expats led a rally Saturday in Washington, D.C.
Pressure. We've got to keep making noise, and we've got to keep making sure that the Nigerian government knows everybody's watching. You can't just sit by idly while this happens to your kids. Everybody's watching. Do something.
The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has the might of the entire military of the country. He has financial resources at his disposal, and he can make things happen if he actually wants to make things happen. So there shouldn't be any excuses.
There are unverified reports the girls have been sold off, forced to marry their abductors, and taken across the border to Chad or Cameroon. Earlier today, a leader of the protest for the girls' return in Nigeria accused the government of arresting her. In Ireland, police have released Sinn Fein leader Gerry Adams without charge after 4 days of questioning over his suspected role in a 1972 murder. Adams was taken into custody last week as part of an investigation into the killing of Jean McConville by alleged members of the Irish Republican Army. The mother of 10 children, McConville, was wrongly accused at the time of being a British informant. New evidence implicating Adams apparently emerged in recordings conducted for an oral history project by students at Boston College. At a news conference upon his release, Gerry Adams professed his innocence.
Of any involvement in any conspiracy to abduct, kill or bury Mrs. McConville. I've worked hard with others to have this injustice redressed and for the return of the bodies of others killed during the conflict and secretly buried by the IRA, and I will continue to do so.
Gerry Adams has faced repeated allegations of ties to the IRA's political murders, charges he has long denied. A gunman in Arkansas has killed 3 people and wounded 4 others before taking his own life. The victims included a 12-year-old girl who died and 2 children who were wounded. The shooter, Porfirio Hernandez, had been released from a mental health facility just days before. President Obama hosted German Chancellor Angela Merkel at the White House Friday amidst continued differences over NSA spying. Leaks by whistleblower Edward Snowden show the NSA tapped Merkel's mobile phone in addition to monitoring other German leaders. At a news conference, Merkel said gaps remain between the two sides and that it's too soon to return to business as usual. Obama acknowledged the Snowden revelations have strained U.S.-German ties.
It has pained me to see the degree to which the Snowden disclosures have created strains in the relationship. But more broadly, I've also been convinced for a very long time that it is important for our legal structures and our policy structures to catch up with rapidly advancing technologies. We are committed to a U.S.-German cyber dialogue to close further the gaps that may exist in terms of how we operate, how German intelligence operates, to make sure that there's transparency and clarity about what we're doing and what our goals and our intentions are.
Negotiations between the U.S. and Germany recently broke down after the Obama administration refused to offer a blanket pledge to refrain from all unauthorized spying on German soil. In a nod to the White House, Merkel's government has advised the German parliament not to invite testimony from Snowden over the spying revelations. A report from the German Foreign Ministry warns Snowden's appearance could further strain ties and potentially bring U.S. charges against German lawmakers for helping Snowden publicize classified information. There is new speculation the Obama administration will shift its deportation policy following an offhand remark by Vice President Joe Biden. At a speech in Miami Saturday, Biden encouraged a group of college students to challenge authority and political orthodoxies. When he mentioned the plight of immigrants, an audience member apparently took Biden's advice and yelled out for the Obama administration to stop its record deportation of undocumented immigrants. Biden's response left some predicting the White House will do so.
It's stamped into the DNA of America. From grade school on, we're encouraged to challenge basic assumptions. No child is criticized for challenging orthodoxy. From our founding fathers on, that has been the case over the last 200 years. The immigrant community represents something special we never talk about. We'll do that too, kid, but let me finish my speech.
The Obama administration's in the midst of reviewing its deportation policy. Last week, 3 sheriffs in Colorado joined a growing list of local authorities that will no longer automatically obey federal requests to hold undocumented immigrants for deportation. House Republicans have announced a new congressional inquiry into the deadly attack on the U.S. diplomatic post in Benghazi, Libya. House Majority Leader John Boehner says he will form a select committee following the release of a new White House email discussing the administration's public talking points. U.S. Ambassador Christopher Stevens and 3 other Americans were killed in September 2012 when militants stormed their compound. Republicans have accused the Obama administration of covering up a security failure, while Democrats say Republicans are hyping a non-issue. Former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice has canceled an appearance at Rutgers University following a wave of campus protests. Rice was to receive $35,000 to deliver the graduation commencement address later this month, but Rutgers students occupied a campus building and called for the invitation to be withdrawn over Rice's role in the Iraq War and Bush administration issues of torture. In a statement, Rice said her appearance has become a distraction. We'll have more on this story later in the broadcast, speaking with a protest organizer. An activist gathered in front of the White House Sunday to stage a reenactment of a wedding in Yemen attacked by U.S. drones. 12 civilians died when U.S. aircraft bombed their wedding procession in December. The killing sparked a ban on U.S. military drone strikes in Yemen, but they continue under the CIA. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.